That's why I don't agree.
It's for legal purposes.
For people who are absent.
So
Okay,
pi
here we
would
go,
be.
So, and I've done that for a couple of years. Okay, just don't act like that's not there. Just act like it's not there. So we talked about the 5 life questions. That's on. I'm on Roman numeral 10 in your book under the introduction. And actually, let's come back to that. Let's move back to Roman numeral 9. And it says write a brief paragraph. Just write a sentence or two about what you're hoping to get out of this class. What are you hoping to learn or to be able to do or whatever after this class is over? Something. I think there's something to get out of that.
learn more about.
And then number 2 says on the scale below, rate your knowledge of apologetics. Apologetic, the term comes from the Greek word apologia, which means to make a defense. So apologetics can be to make a defense for anything, but for our purposes, this is to be able to make a defense for the Christian faith. So on a scale below, what is your knowledge of Christian apologetics? In other words, a defense of the gospel. I'm not going to ask you for that. I'm not going to share either of those with us unless somebody wants to tell us what you want to get out of class.
Is there actually a God?
You're actually a God. That's a good thing. Not to want to get out of this class. So then on page 10, number 3, I'm just going to get answers from you. You can put whatever answer you want. How do you know what you believe is true? And I don't just mean Christian beliefs. Like, how do we know today is Wednesday?
How do you know?
Calendar, okay. How do you know anything you know?
It depends on what you think the truth is.
It can depend on what you think truth is. But if you're going to believe something, I think at some point, that unless your parents were like very anti this, my sister was. At some point, you all believe in Santa Claus. Now, I'm pretty sure none of y'all believe in Santa Claus now, right? So I'm not asking like, how do you know what you believe is true, just about your religious beliefs. But how do you know anything is true? Okay, it's what you've been taught. You were taught there was a Santa Claus.
You just have to believe it for yourself.
I don't
Believe
it for yourself. Okay, but what sort of evidence do you have?
Oh, you have stories.
No, we don't have evidence. You don't think we have evidence for our faith?
The Bible.
Sticker. Well, yeah, but how do we know the Bible is true?
Because they found scrolls.
They were
arguing.
I guess we believe crazy people.
This is good. This is good. This is what I want.
No.
Right?
What did you ask? How do you believe the Bible is real?
How do you know what you believe?
Because we read it.
But where did you get that from?
Okay.
From the prophets.
But if you read it,
It's come down for generations.
if you read a fairy tale,
I believe fairy
and
tales.
if you read a fairy tale, then you believe that's true.
Okay, but if our parents told us about Santa, and then we believe that, and they're like, oh, how do we know that they're not lying?
It's like the tooth fairy.
And that's exactly why my sister didn't tell her kids about Santa, or told them the truth about Santa. Actually,
Yeah. We all believe it.
here's the thing. In order to believe something is true, you need to have evidence of it, right? You need to have evidence of it. And that's what this class is going to be about. What evidence do we have for the existence of God? What evidence do we have that the Bible is the Word of God? What evidence do we have that Jesus is the Messiah? And we're going to begin with what evidence do we have about truth? Like, how do we know what is true? How do we know there's even such a thing as true? And we'll move on from there. But I'm going to give you, the book is going to give you the scientific, mathematical, logical, philosophical case using evidence for a first cause. That something caused the universe to come into being. Something or someone. That'll be our whole first semester. And we won't open the Bible. We won't, until the very end, we won't name that cause.
What's the second semester about?
Then we turn, and once we've determined that there is a God, then which God? Because he's a personal God. He's an all-powerful God. So it has to be one of the theistic religions. So is it Judaism? Is it Islam? Is it Christianity? And then we will investigate which of those lines up most with the evidence. And then we'll look at the Bible. Then we'll look at Jesus and see if there's any evidence for him being Messiah. And then we'll look at the Bible and see if there's any evidence for that as the Word. Yes?
Don't like all like science mathematicians like always say that like evolution is like that's what they like prove that science is like evolution.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to prove that science is like
You'll find out.
I'm confused.
You'll find out.
So I thought that,
It
like,
turns out the scientists have beliefs too. And sometimes they believe things because they want to believe them, but the science doesn't match up with them. And you'll find that out. You'll find that out. Okay, Bo.
So if Christians believes that evolution is a thing, then how do they think that all the different species of like individual animals can be? Because it's not like, I mean, Noah might have fell into all of the like big. I mean, there's no way he found every single kind of bug.
Evolution is
So like,
So we will talk about that. We will talk about that. And we'll talk about evolution. And we'll talk about all that stuff. Yes.
So the first semester is like believing that there's like a God, and then second it's just
We're making a case for the God of the Bible. But not using the Bible. Using science, math, philosophy.
Going off of the evolution idea, evolution is still like a thing because microevolution exists for like adapting to weather and stuff.
Right, yeah, there's two types of evolution. There's microevolution, which has been observed to take place. Darwin's finches is an example. There's macroevolution that has never been observed. What is science? Oh, it's observation. It's observation. That's what science is. Right. But macroevolution is. So they're two completely separate things. Microevolution and macroevolution. We'll think a lot. That's why I've told you that this is the most challenging Bible class of the 4 years. Okay, good job. I appreciate your discussion. So we're going to skip down to number 2 and the equip. So each chapter has a chapter each chapter in the Big Atheist book has a chapter in the Little Atheist book, and it starts with emboldened questions, which get you thinking about the topic. Then we move on to the equipped questions, which are helping you learn about the topic, and then they move on to the engage questions, which are okay. How do I respond to this? What do I do? Because you won't answer all of the questions. I'll let you know which ones to answer and which not. So here in Equip 1, we're not going to go over that one. So here's where we left off yesterday. The 5 existential questions posed in life are the question of order. You should have these written down, right? Right? The question of origin, which is where do we come from? What caused us? The question of identity, who are we? The question of meaning, why are we here? What's our purpose? The question of morality, how should we live? What's good and what's bad? The question of destiny, where are we going? And these are questions that everybody ponders at some point during their lives. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is 3 worldviews and then the religious systems that fit under each one. So take out your glossary I gave you yesterday. And then write down the definition for theism. Write down the definitions for theism, pantheism, and atheism, and then we'll come back and talk. Theism, pantheism, atheism. You can be doing that at home if you're watching this. Well, your next verse quiz is next Wednesday. Oh, the second is Thursday. So they say you get extra credit if you go to the boardroom tomorrow?
I made the announcement.
Excellent.
It's flat out, so.
Oh, that's good.
Why did you choose white? Because it's on black. No, it's on black.
Oh, you don't put face paint on the
Yeah.
games. Yeah, okay. Okay, what is theism?
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, it's a belief in a personal God, a God who created everything, everyone, a God that you can live in relationship with, a God that you can know and who knows you. So it's belief in a personal God. Name a religion that is theistic.
Christianity.
Christianity is a theistic religion. Name another one that's theistic.
Judaism.
Judaism is theistic. And what's the third one?
Islam.
Islam. So Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are the 3 theistic religions. That's theism. What's pantheism?
Someone who believes that a God is a universe. In a personal God that exists in a universe.
It's not a personal God. The God of pantheism
Impersonal.
is impersonal, yes.
Including rock streams.
Right. So theism means a belief system about God, right? Or ism means belief, and this is theism is a belief about a personal God. Pantheism, pan means everything. And so pantheism is the belief that God is everything. And everything is God. Now, there are 2 kinds of pantheists. Hinduism is a pantheistic religion, and it would tell you that everything is God and God is everything. I am God. You are God. The whiteboard is God. Everything is God. So Hinduism is that kind of pantheism. Some forms of Buddhism are pantheist. Not all of them, but some forms of Buddhism are. And then what is broadly called New Ageism, or the New Age movement, which is a Western version of pantheism. Generally speaking, New Agers believe that everything is a part of God. So I'm a part of God, you're a part of God, the whiteboard is a part of God, and collectively all together, it is God. But God is not personal, God is not someone you can talk to, God is a force more than God is a person. So that's pantheism. Everything is God, and God is everything. And then atheism, obviously, A means anti or no theism, no God, no belief in God. So there is no God. And atheists tend not to congregate to talk about their atheistic beliefs. I'm not saying there are no groups like that, but they mostly just don't believe in God as individuals. So describe, I want you to, I want to discuss this a little bit, but I want you to write down something first. So describe in your own words why religion is not simply just about faith. I'm not saying it isn't about faith, but what more is there to religion than just faith? Or why does there need to be more to religion? Okay, what'd you say? Yeah.
What I heard of it is that I said if it were just about faith, I feel like people would get bored of it because you're not actually doing something to actually receive and like believe it. It's just about like, oh yeah, I know what they're saying. So like you're not like taking action, reading the Bible.
It's all here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just in your head and not here and not. Good. Answer. What else? Yeah.
If it's just faith, it wouldn't be a relationship.
I said that with just faith, we wouldn't have a purpose for it.
You can have faith in anything, right? There's even this faith in faith. I'm not exactly sure what that means. But people talk about you just gotta have faith, right? But what if your faith is unfounded? What if your faith isn't built on anything that's true or real? And that's false hope, right? That's false faith. So all religions, even atheism, make faith claims, make statements about God, about truth, what is real, what is not. And we need to know the truth about those things, right? And not just have faith. There are people who say it doesn't matter what you believe, as long as you believe it sincerely. You can believe in Santa Claus as sincerely as you possibly can. That doesn't make it true. And it doesn't even make it true for you, which is another thing. Well, Christianity may be true for you, but atheism, that actually can't be true, right? There either is a God or there isn't. They're two mutually exclusive claims. So both of us might be wrong, but we really can't, because there's either a God or there isn't. So one's right and one's wrong. And so we need to look at the evidence and see where it leads. And the key is to try to come with not an empty mind, but an open mind. With a mind that says, okay, I'm going to look at the evidence, and I'm gonna go where it leads. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the evidence, not just say this is what I believe because my mom told me it's true, or the Bible tells me it's true, or Mrs. Keiser told me it's true. We're going to look at the evidence to make a decision. Now you might have to look back in your book at the introduction a little bit for this next question. But it says, list the 3 primary objections people have against Christianity and explain the differences between them. Can anybody remember one of the primary objections? Yeah.
Emotional
Obstacles, yeah, emotional. Some people have emotional objections to Christianity. What's an example of an emotional objection?
Hell.
Yeah, like the doctrine of hell. How can a good God send people to hell? That's problematic for people. Or the exclusivism. That is another way of putting it. Or why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? We'll talk about that toward the end of the year. And I believe that there are 2 questions that you have to get some sort of understanding of, some sort of good enough answer in order to really fully embrace Christ. The first one is, what happens to someone who doesn't know Jesus? What happens to someone who never had an opportunity to hear about Jesus? Or maybe had an opportunity but didn't have the capacity to understand? What does God do with that? And the second one is that question that we'll go over. Why does God allow so many horrible things to happen? And I don't think we can ever get a absolute, I've got the answer and it's perfect. I think what we have to come to is, this is what I know to be true, and that's enough. And I've come to, on both of those issues, an answer that I don't understand everything. I'm not God. But I understand enough about it to say, okay, I'm good. Those are 2 questions that people struggle with. Those are emotional barriers, emotional objections to Christianity. What's another kind of barrier? Yeah.
Intellectual objection.
Yeah, intellectual. So that's science tells us there is no God, right? No, that's what we study, but that's what they say. That it's this sort of science versus religion fight, and it's not that. But there's a lot of people who believe it is. And what's the third one?
Volitional.
Volitional. They just don't want to. Volitional means it's your own will. It's your own, what you want to do. You do something of your own volition. If you decided to just, hang out after school and wipe all my tables down, I didn't make you do that. I didn't ask you to do that. You didn't get a detention. You just decided to do that. That's of your own volition. That's what you wanted to do. Some people just don't want to believe. And I don't know, next question, I don't know if you see objections played out with others. I have. my best friend. Her name is Chrissy. I'm the only human being on the planet that calls her Chrissy. Her real name is Chris. Her mother sometimes calls her Chrissy. Usually when she's mad, she calls her Chrissy. I call her Chrissy. And when I met Chrissy, we were freshmen in college, and we lived on the same wing of a dorm. And we found out very early that we were both Donny Osmond fans, so we bonded over Donny Osmond, and became very close, became roommates. And Chrissy had a faith background, but she didn't know Jesus. And I kept trying to live the gospel in front of her, but I kept trying to talk to her about the gospel. And she would just shut down the conversation. And she'd say, my religion is personal. And I would always say the same thing. I would say, yes, it is. It's a personal relationship with Jesus. And she didn't hear it, and she didn't hear it, she didn't hear it, but we remained best friends. We graduated. She stayed in Northfield, and I moved to Colorado. And at some point during the fall of my first year of teaching in Colorado, God spoke to my heart and said, write Chrissy a letter about the gospel. I was like, why? I tried. And I was busy. I was working late nights, and I was coaching. And so I just didn't do it. 2 weeks later, I got a call. I found Jesus. It's amazing. She'd come to know Christ. I think God was just trying to give me the opportunity to be a part of that. Because Chrissy was going to come to know Jesus. But God just wanted me to have that. A part of that. Now, to this day, she'll tell people that I did talk to her a lot about Christ. And our friendship took on a whole we did not talk to each other for, I'm going to call it, we cannot talk to each other for months. So, yeah, so her objections were mostly why is it important for Christians? Oh, okay, we'll finish this up real quickly tomorrow, and then we'll move forward. Good discussion. I appreciate it. Man, I'll get over it.